Hi, and welcome to the walkthrough for members of the What About Saint Patreon for a track called Stop the Car, which is from my album The Pivot, which came out in May this year. This one was sort of a bit like later on in the sort of when I was piecing the album together. It was this one, and the tracks go off in this direction, which is the opening track of the album. I did them both at the same time because for some reason I was really obsessed with like slowing down samples and like working with really slow motion, like really gritty, horrible, like granulated, just like really like disgusting sounding, like taking something really nice and pretty and just like absolutely obliterating it and seeing where I could go with it. So anyway, as you'll find out, this is this is Stop the Car. So yeah, here we go. The whole thing is based around this loop. Which is from a sample pack I got of sort of like traditional Moroccan stuff. It was part of a wider sample pack of, say, like North African elements and sounds and stuff like that. And I really wanted to work with some really lush sort of strings that didn't sound sort of like the same kind of things you hear. I wanted to kind of branch out a little bit. So the actual loop, 1 second, sounds like, because I slowed it down somewhat. That's even slower. Whoops. That's how it should sound. So I slowed it down to that, like a real, like, gnarly crawl. And then as soon as I did that, I was like, right, okay, we need to, like, sort of do some slow, churny, like, like, you know, big, beefy stuff. So I added a bit of drum machine from my trusty Volca Beats, which, if you see me live, is my sort of, like, drum machine that I have with me. Nothing too mad, really, just a little snare pattern and some hi-hats. But it kind of like makes, you know, gets things moving at the start anyway. And there's a big kick from the Detroit Electro sample pack, which turns up in Tell It to the Mountain, because I wanted something really beefy for that one, and I wanted something even beefier for this, like real big, fat, punch you in the face sort of kick. Just to really like drive things along. It's quite nice, that. Some nice little bits of percussion in there, just like a little drum hit, like a one-shot thing. But with loads of delay and reverb on it, just to add you know, a little bit of spice as the tracks get going. And then there's bass somewhere. Should we try and find it? There it is. So I added a bit of chorus, and I added obviously a bit of sidechain. It's just me playing that in by hand on the Yamaha Reface thing, which again, if you see me live, is like my sort of bass station where I play a lot of the bass lines. Sort of like cut it up a little bit, and you know, it's pretty gnarly anyway because there's loads of distortion on it. Bit of chorus just to round it out a little bit. And I just wanted that to sit there, like, and just do the same thing, like keep going and grinding, because it's one of those kind of tunes. I didn't want it to like change much. That's fun. This was from and it was actually from the Volca FM, which is the sort of like little mini synth thing that I have live with me, like an extra little I play like most of the synth stuff on. But it has, I was just cycling through like some of the presets, and it has this like kind of sort of like gnarly like 80s sci-fi synthy sort of thing. So I thought like that would sound really nice, very Nine Inch Nailsy, just like sat in the back there. there's sort of two other things that come in here. There's I think that's just it's just like an analog symbol, just with loads of delay and reverb. I didn't know. I kind of wanted something there, like just to kind of bring in different elements of the track. So I thought like, like a little cymbal rush or something like that might be quite nice. But then I thought like, just a little wash would be even better. And then I added some chopped up grime vocals with some auto filter and the Wattcat. If you saw my other breakdown, if you've seen any of the other breakdowns, actually, you'll see me raving about this thing. It's an old VST that replicates a Watkins Copycat, which is a sort of a legendary 60s, 70s sort of delay machine. If you've ever seen any sort of footage of like Pink Floyd and people like that, chances are they'll have one of these in their setup somewhere. It was just like works on like tape heads and stuff like that, but it makes this really horrible delay sound. You can't really tame it. It goes off on these tangents, and it always feeds back and sounds horrible, but sounds amazing at the same time. So like I add it on quite a lot of stuff, and that's just the grime one shot of a guy saying "get down." I think. That's what I think he's saying anyway. But it's from the same sample pack as the vocals and Slur They Words from Bloodsport. But again, adds like a nice little something to it. And then here's a bit of synth also from the Volca FM. It's quite temperamental, this synth. It never kind of works the way you want it to, but it also like it's quite versatile and quite like tactile, so you can get really stuck in with it and get some quite nice sounds out of it. And I wanted on this album to use it a bit more, because I use it a lot live, and I thought like, well, if I'm going to be playing this album live, I should probably record some of the stuff that I use live, because that would make a lot of sense, so I can actually play it live. And so I added quite a bit more of this little synth and on like various bits and bobs throughout the album. I wanted something just to like sit in the back and just ping around like a real I think it's just playing one or two notes, just like pinging around, like making a nuisance of itself. And then just a little hat pattern, 808 hat, just a bit of delay, a bit of reverb, just kind of sitting there, just driving the rhythm on a bit more. I didn't know what sort of guitar to put in this. There was a version, I think, with other sort of riffs happening here, but it just didn't sound very good, and it was a bit too messy. So I thought a few notes on the EBow would probably just give it enough sort of texture to the track. Doesn't do anything too crazy, but just sort of sits and gives this real dark atmosphere, which is really, it works quite nicely with the other. Oh well, it doesn't really kind of. It works nicely with the synth anyway, and kind of other bits and bobs that are sort of pinging around. There's not really much in this, is there? There's not that many elements to it. The typical Satan way, I suppose. And then I sort of wanted to sort of break it down a little bit more and give it a bit of a breakdown. Because there's only so much of this you can really take without like breaking it up, because it's a bit, linear, I suppose. So I added some sort of like a faster pattern just on this bit. Just a real subtle way of just like reintroducing everything back in after this little mini breakdown. this would not be a track like this without some sort of homage to Trent Reznor. So, which is the the clearest rip-off of Closer by Nine Inch Nails I think anyone's ever done. It's basically just a burst of white noise from my Mini Brute, the synth that appears on like some of the other tracks and some of the bits and bobs. So yeah, but you can do like little one shots off it. So I just did a bit of white noise and then just thought like, well, I've kind of come this far with the track. I might as well go all in. So I just wanted it to keep going on like that and just keep that groove going. I also added, going back to the Mini Brute, it's here again. I've been using it quite a bit on other stuff, especially on this album. It does some like pretty main like synth lines in some other songs, but here I just had a bit of fun, just going a bit crazy, going a bit loopy, and just like thinking, right, there's so much stuff that this synth can do. Let's just go a bit mad. So I basically just recorded this stuff. Which is just me messing around with kind of gates and filters and delays and all sorts. But if you had a bit more delay and a bit more reverb in here, it sounds great. It sounds really weird and gnarly, and it just sits in the back. So basically the track just sort of like rumbles on, and then much like if you've heard the track An Absolute Living Hell Part 1 from my album Bloodsport, which was out last year, I really like these really gnarly riffs. Like if you add these sort of like really distorted like gnarly riffs, but just put them at the end of tracks just as like their own little outros. I think I did it in that one, or I did it in the intro anyway it's in there somewhere. So I don't get to play like a lot of rock guitar in Satan. Like it's all very like atmospheres and post-rock twiddling and stuff like that. But with real like kind of rock distorted like riffs, it's really good. Like to sort of step outside of the sort of Satan world a little bit every now and again, and just think, yeah, that can fit. I'll make that fit. Yeah, as I say, like before, it was sort of like over here, like in the sort of like beef of the track, in the kind of main bit. But it didn't really sound very good, so I just thought, do you know what, I'm gonna highlight it and shine a light on it and stick it right at the end. Added a bit more of that woodblock just because it sounds quite sinister to end the track on. But yeah, that's basically it. Again, another like pretty short one as well. It's not like the usual Satan fare of like 10-minute tracks or 9-minute wig outs or whatever. 4.5 minutes. And I did sort of consciously want to do it like fairly short as well. Like this stuff's kind of nice. The sort of like Nine Inch Nailsy groove stuff. You can't really take it any more than about like 4.5, 5 minutes, because otherwise it just gets a bit tiring. So it was good to just sort of get it done and then dip out, and then that's it done. But yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this anyway. If you want a specific track talking about, then just let me know in the comments, or just email me, or get in touch with me, and I'll do my best. But yeah, thanks very much.